Welcome back to Breaking the Chains, Healing from Emotional and Physical Abuse. Donations help my podcast expand and produce more smoothly. Also, you can purchase my merchandise by clicking the link in the description below. I am overwhelmed at the continued support, and I am very grateful for each listener and each supporter of my podcast. This is Season 6, Episode 3. Again, I am your host, Kelly. And the title of this episode is called The Long-Term Effects of a Child Living with a Narcissistic Parent. Again, the title of this episode is called The Long-Term Effects of a Child Living with a Narcissistic Parent. So let's talk about it. A child will see daily that their narcissistic parent is arrogant, boastful, and only cares about themselves. Children of a narcissistic parent will blame themselves because their narcissistic parent is not taking any responsibility for their toxic behaviors. Also, the narcissistic parent only values what their child does for him or her, rather than who they are, and this affects their child in negative ways. A narcissistic parent lacks empathy, therefore he or she is unable to understand or sympathize with their children's thoughts and emotions. I'm going to restate that. A narcissistic parent lacks empathy. Therefore, he or she is unable to understand or sympathize with their child's thoughts and emotions. And here is the 30 long-term effects that a child experiences living with their narcissistic parent. Again, this is 30 long-term effects that a child experiences living with their narcissistic parent. Number 1, their child or children won't be heard or seen. Number 2, their children's feelings and reality will not be acknowledged. 3, the narcissistic parent will treat their child like an accessory rather than a person. 4, a narcissistic parent will value what their children do for him or her instead of who they are as a person. 5, their child will not learn how to identify or trust their own feelings, and he or she will grow up with extreme self-doubt. Number 6, the narcissistic parent will teach their child that his or her looks are more important than how they feel. Number 7, their child will be fearful of being real because his or her narcissistic parent has taught them that their fake image is more important than being authentic. Number 8, a narcissistic parent will force their child to keep secrets to protect their narcissistic parent and family. Number 9, the narcissistic parent will not encourage his or her child to have their own sense of self. Number 10, their child will feel emotionally emptied and not nurtured. Number 11, the narcissistic parent will teach their child not to trust others. Number 12, their children will feel used and manipulated. Number 13, their child will be there for the narcissistic parent rather than the narcissistic parent being there for their child or children the way it should be. Number 14, Their child or children's emotional development will be stagnant. Number 15. A narcissistic parent will make their children feel criticized and judged instead of them feeling accepted and loved. Number 16. The child of a narcissistic parent will grow frustrated trying to seek love, approval, and attention. Number 17. Their child will grow up not feeling good enough. 18. Their child will know that their narcissistic parent is not a good role model for healthy emotional connections. Number 19. The narcissistic parent will not teach their children appropriate boundaries with relationships. Therefore, their child will not know good boundaries for relationships. Number 20. Their child will not learn healthy self-care. Instead, he or she will be more likely taking care of others instead of themselves because it's what their narcissistic parent has taught them. Number 21. Their child will have difficulty with individuality as he or she grows older because their narcissistic parent didn't focus on individuality. Number 22. A narcissistic parent will teach their child. Let me start over. Number 22, a narcissistic parent will teach their child to focus on external validation, meaning being beautiful or handsome, or getting approval from others, or winning trophies or awards at school, rather than teaching their child that internal validation is more important. Let me repeat that. Instead of teaching their child that internal validation is more important. Internal validation means values in life, strengths, and emotions. Number 23. The narcissistic parent will teach their children to do well and make them proud. However, they don't want them to outshine. The narcissistic parent doesn't want their child to outshine them. This is a mixed and crazy making message to their child. Number 24. When their child is outshining him or her, then the narcissistic parent becomes jealous of their child. Number 25. A narcissistic parent will teach their child not to give credit to themselves when it is deserved. Number 26. The child of a narcissistic parent will suffer from PTSD, meaning post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and anxiety, even until adulthood and during adulthood. Number 27. Their child will grow up believing that he or she is not worthy and will believe they're unlovable. Their child will state, if my narcissistic parent can't love me, then who will? Number 28. A narcissistic parent will often shame and humiliate their child, which will make their child grow up with low self-esteem. Number 29. Their child will become either a overachiever or a self-sabotager or both. Number 30. A child of a narcissistic parent will need trauma recovery, and this will last throughout their adulthood. A child or children living with their narcissistic parent is emotionally abusive and causes debilitating, long-lasting effects on a child. Behind closed doors, the children living in a house with their narcissistic parent, then he or she feels suffocated, struggles with low self-esteem, struggles with loneliness and pain. The narcissistic parent is not showing any accountability for their own mistakes and toxic behaviors, so their children believe they are to blame. It is often missed by judges because the narcissistic parent is very charming, likes to manipulate in the courtroom, and is a pathological liar in the courtroom. Again, I'm going to repeat that. It is often missed by judges because the narcissistic parent is very charming and is manipulating the courtroom and is pathological lying in the courtroom. The narcissistic parent will only show their fake image because that is what he or she wants to be seen in the courtroom. I'm going to restate that also. The narcissistic parent will only show their fake image because that is what he or she wants to be seen in the courtroom. When you are the stable parent along with your child, you feel the effects that the narcissistic parent has caused major emotional damage to your child or children. The stable parent must show their child constant empathy. You are playing a double part in parenthood as the stable parent. However, you are showing your child that you are the responsible parent for taking accountability for your actions and showing extreme compassion for your children. When your child is old enough, then he or she asks you why the other parent shows toxic behaviors. So I'm going to restate a sentence. You as the stable parent are playing a double part in parenthood. However, you are showing your child that you are the responsible parent for taking accountability for your actions and showing extreme compassion for your children. And I'm going to repeat again. When your child is old enough, when he or she asks you why the other parent shows toxic behaviors, then you must explain to your child the characteristics of a narcissistic parent and talk with your child about narcissistic personality disorder, NPD. Please don't minimize the emotions of your child, since your child is dealing with a lot of emotions that need to be shared with their stable parent. Again, I'm going to restate that. Please don't minimize the emotions of your child, since your child is dealing with a lot of emotions that need to be shared with their stable parent. Thank you again for your continued support and for listening to my podcast. I am very grateful. Again, this was season 6, episode 3. And the title of this was The Long-Term Effects of a Child Living with a Narcissistic Parent. And donations help my podcast expand and produce more smoothly. Also, you all can purchase my merchandise by clicking the link in the description below. Again, I am your host, Kelly, and I hope you all have an amazing night.